Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles. You know, I'm always going on about, oh, this is not my favourite map in the game. Here we are on Halluf, not one of my favourite maps. Here we are on Komarin. Oh, I hate this map. Bloody hell, Jingles. You're such an old misery gut. Are there any maps in the game that you do actually like? Yep. Ensk. Don't know what it is about this map, but I consistently seem to do well on Ensk, and even when I don't do well, I tend to enjoy the games that I play on this map. I mean, hell, you're about to see the only good game I ever had in the AT15A, and it was on Ensk, so what's not to love about this map? And yes, I know, do not adjust your sets, a good game in the AT15A, but you can tell how long it is since I had a good game in the AT15A by looking at the artillery. That Hummel is a tier 5. Yep, this was back at the time when the AT-15A was the only British tank destroyer in the game. This was before they introduced the British tank destroyer line, and the AT-15A was available as a premium. And of course, the reason I had a good game in the AT-15A was because nobody had a clue how to shoot it. It's basically a premium tier 7 version of the tier 8 AT-15 with the tier 6 TOG 2 gun. And the gun is the best thing about the TOG at tier 6, but this thing's tier 7. And 171mm of penetration. Well, there's plenty of guns in the game that have that kind of penetration, but they're Russian 122mm guns, and they do 390 damage per shot, not 150, like this thing. Of course, the good thing about having this quick-firing 17-pounder is you can do things like this. Keep that KV-1S tracked, blow them away while that Jagdpanther is ineffectually shooting at my frontal armour. Oh, Tiger's trying to get around behind me. Okay. Advance. T-150 with his back to me. I'll have him. Tiger can't hit me from here. Jagdpanther is going to have to... I really didn't need to move forward here. This is actually going to give the Jagdpanther a shot at my side while I'm shooting up this KV-1S. But unless he hits my commander's hatch, he isn't going to be able to penetrate me. Jagdpanther's second shot takes my tracks off while he's reloading. Oh, tracks eat another shot. Use the repair kit. Turn this thing around. Frontal armor towards him. He's already demonstrated he doesn't have a clue where to shoot me. Oh, he's gone. Turn around. Tiger's trying to get around there. He's going after our buddy. And bingo. One good thing about the AT-15A, like the AT-15, is that it's not quite as vulnerable when it gets its tracks blown off as other tank destroyers, other non-turreted tank destroyers, because of the fantastic firing arc of the gun. The gun will actually cover something like a 45-degree cone at the front. But I couldn't recommend the AT-15A to anybody. I rushed out and got it in anticipation of using it as a training machine for British tank destroyer crews. I had one good game in it. This may even have been my very first game in the AT-15A, and then pretty much every game after this was a disaster, as people learned how to deal with the thing. And so my British tank destroyer crews have mostly never seen the inside of this machine. It is very, very bad. But this was the one and only good match I ever played in it, and of course it was on Ensk. Probably my favourite map in the game. And I'd be hard pressed to say exactly what it is that I like so much about this map. It's not like I thought, oh well, the map's got this and the map's got that, therefore I like the map. It kind of worked the other way around, in that I had lots and lots of good games on Ensk, and so I liked the map, and then started trying to figure out the reasons why I seem to do relatively well on this map. And I think it might be because it's one of those maps that has a little of something for everybody. There's the city section where you can do well in heavy tanks and heavily frontally armoured tank destroyers. There's the section out to the east end of the map where light tanks and mediums can manoeuvre. It's not even terrible for artillery. You know, there are places artillery can go to have an influence on the outcome of the match. I think it's definitely more of a heavy tank map, but it's not exclusively a heavy tank map the way that maps like Himmelsdorf tend to be. I'm in a heavy tank here, obviously, the E100, platooned up with Quickie Baby, also in an E100, and Green Man in his IS-7. And I'm still driving the E100 and trying not to use premium ammo at all. I have some loaded, And I'm bouncing a PCR from that M103. I do like the E100. I hated it at first. I had no clue how to drive it. And I dare say there are people who are going to argue that I still have no clue how to drive the E100. Possibly I don't have a clue how to fire the gun on the E100. You could definitely make an argument there, but I'm definitely getting the hang of the angling and the side scraping. I just think this is so much more a flexible tank than the mouse. The mouse is very much a one-trick pony. It's got its armour, and that's it. The E100, on the other hand, well, with effective angling, the armour is as good, if not better, than the mouse. And the gun, well, it gives you slightly more options. There we go. There we go. At last, some damage done. And you can see that, I mean, I've taken, I don't know, I've lost track of the number of hits that I've taken so far. And that's the first one that's done any damage from the IS-7 there. Of course he's firing gold at me. Penetrates my side, takes my engine out. I'm not going to use the repair kit just yet because I'm not really moving anywhere very quickly. As long as I'm fighting this corner. Oh shit, Quickie Baby's in trouble. He doesn't repair his tracks because he thought at that angle he'd be able to bounce most of the T57 heavy shots, but of course he's spamming gold as well, so Quickie Baby ends up on very, very low health. Well, you know, T57 heavies. A 4-shot autoloader with 258mm of penetration just isn't enough, so give them 340mm of penetration with gold ammo. Saved my shot against that IS-7 after bouncing his return fire and allowed me to plant one right into the side of the object. IS-7 in front of me here still hasn't learned his lesson. He's never going to penetrate me, not at this kind of angle. He's angling and side-scraping well in return though. That shot you could penetrate with any other tier 10 heavy. You need around about 250mm of penetration to get through that cheek when it's angled towards you of the IS-7. Unfortunately, the E100 only has 235. Still, he can't penetrate me either. But now watch this enemy IS-7. Comes around that corner with 2,100 health. Quickie Baby's there on 325. Watch this mistake. Instead of fighting the corner, he drives out in front of all of our guns. Quickie Baby angles against him, bounces every shot he fires, and 2,100 health gone as fast as that. Now if these guys in front of us had taken advantage of that, we could have been in trouble. But they didn't. Another hit on the Object 268. I've done a lot of damage to that guy so far. In fact, I think I've done all the damage that guy's taken. Green man in his IS-7 on the far corner of the road there, keeping the flank secure. We've got another IS-7 up here with us. The odds are stacked against us here, by the way. There's 4 of us in tier 10 heavies, but there were 6. Now there's 5 tier 10 heavies against us, as well as a tier 10 tank destroyer, a tier 9 tank destroyer, and a tier 8 heavy. But these guys just wouldn't push the numerical advantage. Just looking at the numbers involved, we shouldn't have won this. We were outnumbered, they had more firepower. But you had tanks on both sides that were very, very good at side-scraping and angling and avoiding damage. And if you all try to side-scrape and angle and avoid damage, that plays into the hands of the side that is outnumbered. The guys that have the firepower and the numerical superiority have to push, while the rest of their team was getting their arse kicked. Those guys should have advanced and finished us off, and then still been in a position to win. They were all very good players, but they weren't a very good team. Like us, they were all in tanks that were very, very good at avoiding taking damage. So that's exactly what they did. They dug in and they avoided damage. But unfortunately, the rest of their team was getting its ass kicked. What they should have done was use their firepower and numerical superiority to move forward, take some damage, but finish us off. And then dig in and wait for the rest of the team to come and face them in a position where the advantage was theirs. They were good players. They weren't a very good team. Meanwhile, the E100 experiment seems to be working. No premium ammo used, still managed to do almost 4,000 damage. And 2,300 damage blocked by armour. And yet, still only good enough for a 3rd class mastery badge. People will try to tell you that the E100 is a bad tank. It really, really isn't. Driven properly, It's very, very strong. If that result is only good enough for a third-class mastery badge, people are doing very, very well with their E100s. Final replay on Ensk. Again, it's another fairly even match. It's a 54%er. Some very, very good players on both teams. Myself and Quickie Baby both in the IS-7 Russian Tier 10 heavy tank. Ike in his always reliable T110E5. He only ever plays the T110E5 in Tier 10 heavy tank games because it's the only Tier 10 heavy tank he's got. But it's a very, very good tank. There was an enemy WZ131 driver who was very pleased to see us for some strange reason, and his comments in chat are going to brighten things up throughout the course of this game. He shoots Ike in the ass at one point and gets very, very pleased with himself about it. As well he should. So, anyway. So, more or less the same situation as in the E100 earlier, but there's an enemy IS-3 driver who's going to teach me a very important lesson in one of the weaknesses when it comes to side scraping and angling the IS-7 that you just don't have in the E100. Now, it costs him a lot of health, but bang, there it is. We interrupt this broadcast to show you exactly how that IS-3 was able to penetrate me at that angle. This strip of armour here, below the spaced armour on the side and above the tracks, is actually 100mm thick. Now at the top it slopes and is an automatic ricochet at this kind of angle. But down here, there it is, 200mm effective thickness. And the IS-3's gun has 227mm of penetration. Oh, I love the smell of a high explosive anti-tank premium ammunition round bouncing off the front of the T110E5 in the morning. Not as much as Ike loves it though. And we'll confirm that in a moment. The enemy E100 at the other end of this square is firing gold ammo. Anyway, a pretty uneventful game so far. I'm just waiting for this IS-3. Now he knows what he's doing, and he knows what to expect if he pokes his nose around that corner again. 250mm of penetration on this 130mm gun. But there's a much more juicy target, M103. Nice hit. Ike pops around, takes a hit from the IS-3, fires, blows his tracks off. And I have already fired, so I'm going to load before he does. And it was a real shame to have to kill this guy, because he was good, and he had no fear whatsoever, taking a Tier 8 heavy right into the teeth of all of these Tier 10 heavies. And bang, there we go. The E100 just bounced a heat round off my turret. He actually fired at the turret of the IS-7. Do not fire at the turret of the IS-7 regardless of what ammunition you're firing, unless you can guarantee a hit on the commander's hatches at the top. And definitely not if you're firing heat ammo at rounded and sloped surfaces. But the time for sitting on our ass is definitely over, and I go around the corner to get the E100 and suddenly a wild Waffenträger appears, and I bounce, but hey, so does he, so it's all good. Hastily back up before he can get a second shot off, and now he can't shoot me, and I've got the big fat ass of the E100. Okay, the Waffenträger looks like he's backed off to reload, so it should be safe to advance. There's an SU-12254 on the corner to the left, and yep, he manages to get one into me, and I completely donk the return shot. Ah, okay, there's an M103 back there with him as well. That changes things slightly, but I'm not alone. Quickie Baby's driving his IS-7 around the side. We're going to take him from both sides. He's going to nail that M103, which hopefully has turned the SU-12244 around. He's taken fire from them. There we go, took his tracks off. He uses a repair kit. Screw it. No guts, no glory. There's no prize for best looking corpse. His track's gone again. He's already used the repair kit. He's out of here. Now this is the stage of a game where you'd much rather be in the IS-7 than a tank like the E100, because while the E100 is certainly faster than a mouse, it's not quick, and the IS-7 is. And when you've won your part of the fight and you're scrambling to catch up with the remainder of the enemy team, you want to be in something that's got a bit of grunt in the engine, and just quickly stop and kill this Object 261, because who doesn't love killing artillery? And now there's a 215B and a T-54. T-54, in a move that shocked absolutely nobody, is firing gold, and I do love it when people spend money on me and achieve absolutely nothing. And I'm coordinating my actions with Quickie Baby here. He's got the next shot up, so we're going to leave the T-54 to him. He's going to take his time, make sure he gets in. There we go. I'm going to go after the 215B and drive right through this wall. And, you know, this 130mm gun, it's your typical Russian gun. Fire on the move, the T-54, penetrate, do full damage. Stop and aim, the 215B is track seated, but I'll bounce the return shot from the 215B as well. Now there's a T-54E1 down there, and again, exactly the kind of situation where you don't want to be in something big, slow and heavy like an E100. You want to be in something that can really shift, like the IS-7, because the two remaining enemy tanks are all the way down the other end of the map, and if we were in the E100s, there's no way we'd catch these guys. Fire on the move at the T-54E1, because why the hell not? He was never going to sit still long enough for me to aim at him, and mobility is what's key here. You can see Quickie Baby surging ahead of me there. He's using removed speed governors on his IS-7. I tend to play things a little safer. I go with a standard first aid kit, repair pack, and fire extinguisher. As you can see, I've already taken a hit in the fuel tanks in this game from the first shot fired by the IS-3, and again, it's just one of those games. Fire on the move, obliterate the T-54E1. I do not recommend doing this with the IS-7, but sometimes you have one of those games, because you're driving a Russian tank, and every time you fire, it's as if the hand of Joseph Stalin himself reaches up from the depths of hell and guides your shot towards the target. But anyway, good result, and a fun game between two pretty evenly matched teams. First class mastery badge, not quite good enough for ace tanker. There are some spectacularly good IS-7 drivers out there, but first class, better than 95% of people driving IS-7s this week, so I'm certainly not complaining. Another thing I'm not complaining about is that I ended up top on XP earned. No idea how. Quickie Baby, as well as doing slightly more damage than me, also got a Confederate medal and 3 times as much spotting damage. The only real difference is I got more kills, so it looks like the XP bonus for getting the killing shot is actually worth substantially more than I imagined. But yeah, anyway, finally, after countless videos where I'm constantly saying, oh, I really don't like this map, I thought it was about time I showed you a map that I do actually like, Ensk. I really do feel that this map has got a little bit of something for everybody, and I always look forward to playing games on it. As always, take care on that battlefield, and I'll catch you next time.